let's talk a little bit about the numbers associated with self-harm. Research into the lifetime prevalence of non-suicidal self-injury has consistently identified in community samples the rate to be around 17%. Now, newer research being published since the pandemic is starting to suggest that these numbers are rising. And I would certainly say that that's what I've been witnessing in the past 3 years that I've been working in a partial hospital program. For those who come inpatient, the rates of non-suicidal self-injury are reported much higher, studies ranging anywhere from 40 to 82%. And I would probably estimate my clinic in the partial program being somewhere around 80% of the kids who I see. Again, looking at the behaviors of these individuals in the community, most often kids are engaging in cutting type behaviors. Some may burn, pick scabs, bang heads, hit themselves. These are some of the other behaviors we see. But for those who actually gain admission to the hospital, it's most likely as a result of an overdose attempt. Self-harm does become increasingly common from age 12 onwards, and I think a lot of you already knew that based on our pretest. But what we do tend to find is that the numbers peak during adolescence, and for those starting early on, it's predominantly girls, but boys do seem to catch up. When we look at the data of those presenting to the emergency department, by and large, it's girls and young women at a rate of twice that of boys and young men. How common is this? Well, it's very common, unfortunately. And in 2019, there were over 200,000 emergency department visits within the United States because of self-harm in the age group of 10 to 24. And this was almost 3 times what we would see in people over age 25. So certainly this is a condition of young people, and it's why we're talking about it at this academy. So let's look a little bit more at other factors that might contribute to the development of this behavior. And I came across this study that I also found quite interesting. And the data here was taken from the Millennium Cohort Study, which is being conducted over in the UK. And essentially what they do is they enroll children at 9 months of age, and then throughout the course of their life, they're collecting all kinds of data about their medical profiles and biopsychosocial profiles. And what this team did is they identified a cohort of kids at the age of 14, and then they tracked their data back to age 5. And what they were looking for was for clustering of behaviors, and 2 pathways ultimately emerged, leading to that self-harm at age 14. The first one they referred to as the psychopathology pathway. And they were quite surprised, the authors of this article, to find that this was a much smaller group. These were the kids who very early on demonstrated a lot of emotional dysregulation and were more subject to bullying. And I think the authors thought that this would be the vast majority of kids who later engage in non-suicidal self-injury, because that's oftentimes what we associate with this behavior. But what they found actually is a much larger group, almost 3 times larger, was a group of young people who just prior to adolescence, so more in that like tween years, they started demonstrating a lot more risk-taking behavior. Again, maybe going back to that concept of impulsivity as contributing to non-suicidal self-injury. And these were also the kids who had a more difficult time gaining a support system. So they had a lot of external challenges. And this led to them engaging in non-suicidal self-injury. The other thing I didn't mention on this slide that I did find very interesting is there were 2 characteristics actually that both of these pathways had in common, and one had to do with low self-esteem, which actually they said they could predict 10 years prior to the study. So maybe even down to the age of 4, they could start seeing signs of low self-esteem. And they said that both pathways were marked by sleep disruption in these individuals. And poor sleep is going to be something that comes up again and again for the young people engaging in these behaviors.